This is not an either or situation between I'm going to accomplish goals or I'm going to be happy. That's a false dichotomy. We can do both of them.
Hi, I'm Russ.
And I'm Danny.
And this is the Memory Makers Podcast,
the show that helps you create amazing customer experiences and make more memories.
Memory Makers Podcast. Do you know what that is?
Oh,
come on.
Hold on.
It's a Scrubs epic song. Turk loves it.
I went in a different direction. I was thinking Free Your Mind.
No, whoa, that'd be a good one to do. No, it's That Girl Is Poison.
That's a good one, too.
Come on. Yeah, okay. I like it. I like where your head was at, though, too. What's up, man?
You know, just ready to get into today's topic. And you and I'm going to segue this or try to connect this. You had a different focus on a song in your mind, and I had a different focus on mine, which is helpful because today's episode is all about what we focus on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start this off with an exercise. And for those listening, Russ has no idea what this exercise is, so he's going to participate as well. So if anyone listening to this is driving in a car or doing something like that, you won't be able to fully participate. You'll know what I mean in just a moment. So yeah, be safe, but everybody else who has the ability to do this. Okay. So whatever room you're in, whatever space you're in right now, look around and find all the red things that you can find and, you know, catalog them in your mind. Look around, find the red things. I'll give everybody like 10 seconds. Look around, find anything that's red, catalog it in your mind, all the red things.
Does my underwear count?
I didn't need to know that, but yes. Okay. Now, close your eyes. Tell me all the blue things that you found.
Oh, crap.
You can open your eyes again. So whenever I've done this before, people are like, oh, come on, that's a trick. It's yes. But I like to do this because I've talked before, we've probably talked about it on this podcast, something called the reticular activating system in our brain. It's the filter that lets us see the things that we say are important. So we tell our brain what's important, and it lets us see those things, and it blocks out everything that is not important. In this case, you wanted to find all the red things. So anything that wasn't red, your brain was blocking out and only focusing on that one thing. So basically, to put this simply, we find what we look for, we find what we focus on. And here's what's important about that. We can always control what we focus on. And there are two focused decisions that we make in every moment. And sometimes we're making these consciously, but a lot of the times we're making them unconsciously. And these are the two decisions. Number one, do you focus on what you have or what's missing? And number two, do you focus on what you can control or what you can't? Now, if we're constantly focused on what's missing and what we can't control, it's going to bring about more stress, more frustration, maybe even sadness, because really we all have amazing things in our life, but we won't see them and we won't have the gratitude for them if we're not intentionally focusing on those things. And if we reverse this on the flip side, if we focus on what we do have and what we can control, it gives us a sense of ownership, a sense of gratitude, and momentum to keep pushing forward. And I think those two pieces of focus are really important.
I really like that a lot. And that's not to say that, hey, I only focus on the positive or what you have and what you can control, or only the negative, what we lack or can't control 100% of the time. It's going to be, you know, it will flex and flow depending on kind of what inputs, what's going on around us, you know, but one thing, and we've kind of talked about this with the Pat Lencioni ideal team player, you know, if you've got this humble, hungry, and smart, you're not, very few people are all three of those. And typically in times of stress, you have two of those three that manifest a little bit stronger. And it's kind of like this, where we will typically have a default focus. Some of us are going to be 50-50, some are going to be 70-30, some are going to be 20-80. Like, it's just, it will depend on where, setting all of that stuff that we have. But we need to be a little bit more self-aware of what is our current default state that we tend to go to, and does that balance serve, or does it need to be refined a little bit, and do we need to be intentionally thinking about shifting that balance a little bit if it's something that isn't serving? And I think it, as you're talking about that, in small doses, focusing on what we lack can help us strive and achieve, right? Like, you don't want to be just satisfied with the status quo. You want to be able to look forward and hey, how can we get better every day? But we also need to make sure, a goal is something we don't currently have and we want to work towards it. Like, all of that is good, but it can't be the only thing in large doses, or it becomes toxic, right? Because it's a little bit of the gap and the gain that we've talked about in the past, where if we look at where we are now and where we want to be, that's the gap. And it's important to look at where we want to be, but not being dissatisfied with the fact that we're not there yet, right? And knowing, hey, we can take steps, we can change, we can, here's what we do have in order to help us get closer to where we need to go. Needs to be a little bit more of the healthier balance, in my opinion. And if we look at where we are now versus where we started, we see those gains and see how far we've come. We see our track record of taking on and completing hard things. And that's really important for us to stay motivated and not only learn but grow into our future. And in both mindsets, you're still in the exact same place. Like, your situation is your situation. The accomplishments that you've had up to that point don't change, and where you're wanting to go doesn't change. But it's just, again, shifting that into a positively framed piece of, hey, this is where we want to go. Okay, that's great. Here's what we have in order to make that happen, and here's how we can use those to get us closer to where we need to go. And so I think that it's when you even just think about your own experience, right? Like, during the times when you focus on the negative, what you don't have and what you don't control, what's that emotional state? It tends to be, for me anyway, it's a little bit of a higher blood pressure. It's a little bit more anxiety riddled. If that is predominantly what is, driving my thought process. And so it's just not great. Whereas if I can deal with reality on reality's terms and recognize, like, hey, this is what is in front of me, and this is an obstacle, but I've done hard things. Here's tools that I have. Here are resources or people that I have. Like, that's you're in the same physical location, but emotionally, one is much better in kind of taking on new challenges.
What you said there, I think, is really interesting, and I want to push in a little bit more on that. You had mentioned, these are the tools that I have, these are the resources that I have, and let's think about a practical example, right? Let's say someone listening to this, you run an FEC, right? And all of you are great operators, and your businesses are doing well. But let's just assume for a moment that it's not doing as well as you want it to do. And let's say you're focused entirely on what you can't control. So you're focused entirely on, oh my gosh, the inflation rates, and oh my gosh, the economy, the interest rates and economy. And you're also focusing on what you don't have, the customers that are not in the door. I don't have these customers, interest rates, economy. I don't have these customers, interest rates, and economy. The problem with that is, one, it creates a lot of stress, but two, it doesn't allow you to be solution oriented, because all you see is the problem. However, when you take a step back and you look at what are the things that you can control in your business, and what are the things that you do have, the people, the resources, the tools, and the knowledge, that's where you can take these things and start implementing them to overcome the things that you can't control in your environment, and be able to get to the goals that you want to get to. And so this is not just some kind of fluffy piece about, like, let's all be, imagine rainbows and we're all going to be fine. That's not what this is about. There's a very practical element to the way that this will manifest in our businesses based upon where our focus is going. So I think that was an interesting thing that you just brought up, Russ.
Yeah, I don't know. We've been really fortunate with just the experiences, and whether it's some of the Tony Robbins stuff or, some of our more natural default leanings have been in that, okay, like, so what, now what? This thing happened, great. How, not great if it's a bad thing, but like, this thing happened, can't change the fact that it has happened. So my reality is that I got to get out of this, or I've got to improve it. And so then, even a good first step is starting to look at like how others have started to tackle some of that stuff. And it's really important to get into a piece like this where if you're going to reach out to your network and you're going to talk to folks, it's not a commiseration of, oh, woe is me and these things aren't going down. I typically have found I get a lot better results out of these conversations when I'm either chatting with you or other folks, that I trust, of, hey, are you seeing any new and engaging ways to bring folks in, as opposed to, oh my gosh, we don't have anybody coming in, I don't know what we're going to do, right? And so even coming to someone with that, because a lot of times if you're coming to it with the heavy, like, I don't know what we're going to do, I can't solve this problem, you're going to tend to get a lot more of like an empathy response from the person, as opposed to, oh, well, have you thought about this or thought about that? So even how you can take a similar topic and bring it to someone else to get insights or ideas from, even how you frame that question to them is going to dramatically dictate how good of a response you get and what actually solves the problem versus, I'm really sorry that's happening. It'll get better, and kind of give you a love punch on the shoulder and send you on your way. So it really is just that framing, that mindset. How are you approaching that, and how are you bringing it to others even when you're looking for help? Because you may not get the help if you're framing it in that more negative way.
Well, we're going way off script because I wasn't planning on talking about any of this stuff, but there's also that brings about the idea that it's okay to ask for help. So many entrepreneurs and business leaders have this assumption that I need to know all the answers and I need to be able to do this on my own, and asking for help for someone on my team or a peer in the industry or a mentor is a sign of weakness. No, it's absolutely not. We don't have to be in everything alone. We can lean on those around us, and it can help us overcome challenges a whole hell of a lot faster if we do that.
And one more rabbit hole before we get it back on the rails. Think about when you and I, as we've over the last 9 years now, have really progressed, grown from the original roles that we had within the company and taken on new challenges, new responsibilities. I am really hard pressed to think of a time where, Mondo has come to us and said like, hey, this is something that I want to do, yada, yada, without making sure like, do you have what you need, or what do you need from us in order to now achieve this kind of a thing? And he knew that as we were growing up into these roles that we wouldn't have all the answers, and kind of put that out on the plate, and on the table. So that way it was okay that we could also acknowledge that. And that, for owners or managers who are listening to this episode, that is a magic mental jujitsu piece, Jedi mind trick, kind of thing of getting the best out of your team, especially as you're helping them level up, and you're because they need to, scrape their elbows, and if they're wrapped in bubble wrap, like, they're gonna make mistakes. And so even just framing that to them of, hey, what are some initial ideas that you have, around this? Think about what you will need that you don't have in order to do it, but also think about what do we do have in order to, be able to, what do we have in-house? What can we utilize that we aren't currently? And it flips to that, what do you have versus what do you control piece as well. But Mondo would always be very open with us about like, I don't expect you to have all of these answers, but I'd like you to start down this path. You need to let me know what don't you have, or what do you need in order to do some of that, but also let me know what we have that we could either utilize in a new way or expand what we're doing with.
And he and Kim have also modeled that for us.
Big time.
The leadership team, they have been able to come to the team at times and say, hey, here's a situation that we have. I'm not sure the best way to go about this. I want everyone's input on it. Right? That kind of mindset is best when it's modeled by the leaders and not just expecting everyone else to do it and not yourself. And so it kind of starts at the top and trickles outward from that standpoint.
Oh, I love that you use the word trickle, because I'm going to TM this phrase. All right, ready, Mike? TM. Trickle down culturenomics. Nobody
Oh,
steal it. Mike, I don't know what we need to do, but file that patent. Cultured.
when you just said TM, 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 which doesn't mean anything because you can't trademark something by saying it, it just reminds me of The Office when
Yeah.
Michael Scott goes, I declare
Bankruptcy.
bankruptcy.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't just say it. He goes, I didn't say it. I declared it.
Oh, shoot. Anyway,
Okay.
back on
I'm going to
track.
bring us back on track now because
Thank
it
you.
was a fun diversion, but it's now time
I like
to
it.
get back on our plan. So I want to add one more kind of layer to this piece. For a lot of people, there's this default mode of thinking of have, do, be. And what I mean by that is we tell ourselves that when I have the things that I want to have, then I'll be able to do the things that I want to do. And then I'm going to be the person I want to be. So examples of that could include when I hit that revenue goal, when I live in that house, when I make that amount of money, when I have that relationship, whatever that is, when I have those things, then I'll do the things I want to do and then I'll be the person I want to be. But the problem with that mindset is that we delay doing the things that we want to do or becoming the person we want to be until the conditions are just right. We're letting our environment dictate our lives. And in that wait, we might be waiting a really long time, or hey, we might be waiting forever. A better way to approach it is be, do, have, where I'm going to be the kind of person that I want to be now. I'm going to do the kinds of things that person does. And then as a byproduct, I will have the things that I've been wanting to have. This allows us to be who we want to become today. There's no delaying, there's no waiting. We just do it right now. And then we align our actions with the identity of that person. And all the things that we've been working toward end up happening as a byproduct of that. And I think it's really interesting because if we kind of wrap up this whole episode together with a little bow, there's a powerful effect that when we layer these two things together. So when we combine this with the previous mindset, if we focus on what we have and we focus on what we can control while simultaneously we are the person we want to be now and we do the things that that kind of person does, that's when we can compound all this to a whole different level and being able to accomplish goals that we want to accomplish while being more happy and more fulfilled along the way. Because this is not an either or situation between I'm going to accomplish goals or I'm going to be happy. That's a false dichotomy. We can do both of them. And these are some of the tools that allow us to combine some mindsets and some frameworks in order to take those goals to the next level.
I like it. Just remember, and we were talking about this before the podcast, where energy or where focus goes, energy flows, right? And so if we're going to be intentional about being able to do all of this, like, and we need to be self-aware of, hey, where am I kind of defaulting to right now? Is that serving? Is that need a little bit of tweaking, or do I need to double down on what I've been doing because it's working? And man, it just you're going to be in the same spot regardless. You're going to have to deal with reality on reality's terms, but tuning your frequency to a little bit more of an open and graceful disruption is going to be the way to go.
I'd say that's a pretty good place for us to wrap up.
I like it. Let's do it to it. If you guys liked what you heard, be sure to check in next week for our episodes. We continue to have more guests, both on the operator side as well as from some of our fantastic partners.
Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.
And we always appreciate the 5 stars. Please and thank you.
If you've got ideas for future episodes, topics, or guests, follow us on social media, send us a DM.
Big shout out as always. Thank you, Mikey Mike, on the ones and twos working the Ultranet. And thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you on the next one, Troublemakers. That was good.
Okay, we're out. I couldn't see anything, so I'm thinking about what would be a good thumbnail for this.
Yep, that's perfect. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it.
Okay, we have to.
I was just seeing how long you'd let me go. The 12-year-old has a hard time letting go sometimes.
Hold it.
Hold it.
Hold it.
All right. I'm ready, Mike. Are you ready?
I'm not ready yet. Hold on one second.
Come on, dinner.
I'm getting my windows organized.
Mike, can you add in one of those like Windows broken sound effects? I'm trying to get my windows done. Boom. Sweet.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Mikey Mike, let's do this thing.